Good. Morning, everyone. Welcome to Perth County Council this first day of August. I'd like to call our meeting to order. If everyone could please bow their head for a moment of reflection. Thank you. I will read our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that Perth County is situated on the traditional land of the Ononasha Bay, who have a long-standing relationship with the land and water throughout the region. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit people who call this territory home. As a county, we have a responsibility for reconciliation and a continued stewardship of the land on which we live and work. Okay, if you have pecuniary interest, you can disclose that now or as the meeting moves along. Under our consent agenda, we have, I didn't do this first, so we need to make a motion that we approve the agenda. So the August 1st, 2024 agenda be approved, moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Aitchison. All in favor? Carried. Okay, now we can move to confirmation of the consent agenda items. I knew it was going to be a bad morning. 27 items on our consent agenda. Is there any item anyone would like pulled or they have questions? Councillor Kassenberg.
Good morning, Warden Negetz. I actually have three that I think we might want to have a look at this morning. Item 6.13, which is a letter from St. Catharines about a Green Roads pilot project. Item 6.25, which is about MFIPA review. And item 6.26, which is an item that affects all of us these days, which is the MD shortage in the province of Ontario.
Okay. Anyone else have anything? If not, then we have a motion that council receives a consent agenda items 6.1 to 6.27 with the exceptions of 6.3, 6.25, and 6.26. and approves the July 4, 2024 council minutes. Moved by Councillor Smith, second by Councillor McDermott. All in favor? Carried. Okay, Todd, you.
Thanks, Warden Negetz. So for item 6.13, there's an interesting story about the city of St. Catharines exploring the use of bioresins in paving. In their community, and there's some gentle justification included in this. I am intrigued, of course, by the fact that Perth County has been a leader in environmental approaches to paving, with cold in-place recycling of our roads, dominating our landscape from the county for many, many years, and certainly something to be proud of. I find myself wondering if it wouldn't be prudent for staff to have some time, but to bring forward a report telling us a little bit about bioresins and whether that too could be an innovation that is added to our road mix as we move forward, given our history of innovation around paving and environmental stewardship around paving. So the action requested is that we ask staff, and it's not urgent, to bring forward a report that shares with us insight into bioresins and whether they might be relevant for paving in roads in Perth County in the future.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that? Councillor McDermott? Any questions? Councillor Twinkowski?
Good morning, Warden Negetz. Good morning, council and staff. Yeah, I would be interested to find out more about this. My concern would be, although there's potential environmental benefits, I would be concerned about the engineering, the quality and the long-term longevity of such materials as it pertains to life cycle, durability, and serviceability. Those would be my questions. I'd like to find out more, but always concerned that it will deliver as promised. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? If not, all in favor? Carried. Okay, and the next one, Todd?
Item 6.25, there is a request and I think it's quite timely, for a review of the provisions of MFIPA and a request for modernization of MFIPA. I think that, the letter itself points out that it's been 30 years since MFIPA has had any serious attention from the provincial government. And it does seem like a prudent time to have that reevaluated and perhaps modernized. I understand from the clerk that there have been some movements in that sort of privacy realm towards change on the part of the provincial government. But I think it would be appropriate for this council to lend its voice to the township of Puzzlinch's letter endorsing their request for a modernization effort on the part of the province for MFIPA.
Okay, so you're moving that, and we have a seconder. Councillor McDermott, questions? Councillor McDermott?
Yes, I would suggest that we send it to Puslich and then, our MPP and relevant ministers in Toronto. I don't think we have to send it to every municipality.
Okay. Anyone else? All in favor? Carried. Okay, and your last one, Councillor Castleberg?
Well, it seems like the topic here is the issue of primary health care in Ontario. Many of us are facing pressures at every level, I think, as elected officials. And the County of Frontenac has done some work, obviously, to position a resolution to the province asking for recognition of the problem. I'm not sure, I should ask the clerk if we've done something about this before, but if we haven't, certainly something on behalf of all citizens of Perth County who are struggling to find positions where wait lists are in excess of 6 years in some cases for finding a new family physician. It does seem of merit to send a letter to the province suggesting that we too are concerned about the physician shortage and the compromise of primary health care that seems to come from that. And therefore it may be just appropriate to endorse or support the Frontenac letter with our own endorsement. So I'll move them to do that, and the usual suspects per Councillor McDermott's comments, I think would be copied on the letter.
Okay, so moved by Councillor Castleberg. Do a seconder, Deputy Warden Callum. Comments? Councillor Aitchison?
So correct me if I'm wrong, we have somebody in the audience that probably can. My understanding for a family care practitioner, they just can't open up by themselves. They have to become part of a group. Because I know a couple of doctors who were going to try to do that. And no, you have to belong to your group of 5 or 6 or whatever that team is. So they ended up heading south. And the other part of it is you can ask to be part of a team or a group. You also have to be accepted by that team or group. And they may not necessarily want you. So it's not just a case of trying to find a doctor, it's trying to get them to open an office and actually practice. And I got this from the recruiter at the Woodstock Hospital was telling me how this worked. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. But to my understanding, that's how it works. We have people sitting over there that can correct me if I'm wrong.
If I might, Warden Negetz, certainly I serve as a representative on the Listowel wing of an area family health team, and so I'm somewhat aware of the circumstances that you're describing. That said, I think that the general premise of the resolution, and I agree with you, it would be probably worth our while to invite a delegation from a family health team to talk about the primary care landscape at this county council. But I think the premise here is fix the problem. And those fixes could include changing or supporting models that perhaps have been deprecated over the years, the years that solo family doctor that worked alone. Maybe we need some mediation to the models that allow that kind of thing to happen, because because certainly that would be an impediment to having the doctors that we're talking about. But I think generally this resolution is broad in scope. It just raises the alarm flag. And I think that's why I'm encouraging us to do this.
It's definitely broad in scope. I just think we have to start narrowing it down.
Okay, anyone else? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, going to move on. We do have a public meeting this morning, so the first motion is that regular council recess for the purpose of holding the public planning meeting at approximately 9:10 a.m. Moved by Councilor McDermott, second by Councilor Duncan. All in favor? Carried. And now we're in our meeting, so we have a motion that the planning public meeting August 1st, 2024 agenda be approved. Moved by Councilor Smith, second by Councilor McDermott. All in favor? Carried.
Just do a disclosure on this meeting as well.
Yep. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. If anyone has pecuniary interest, you can disclose that now or as the meeting moves along. With the confirmation of the agenda, we have their minutes from July 4. Does anyone have any questions or comments on those minutes? No? Then we have a motion that council approves the minutes for the July 4, 2024 planning public meeting. Moved by Councilor McKenzie, second by Councilor Aitchison. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so we are going to move to the report. We have the Perth County Official Plan Amendment 228, Stonewall Holdings this morning, and with us this morning we have Haley. And I don't believe maybe all of you have met Haley. Welcome to Perth County. Great to see you.
Good morning.
And the floor is yours.
Good morning, Warden and Councilors. I will be presenting Official Plan Amendment 228 for lands municipally known as 3715 Perth Road 113 in the Township of Perth South. Subject lands are an irregularly shaped 29-acre parcel along Perth Road 113, bordering Stratford to the north and the west. The land is designated agriculture and natural resources environment and zoned site-specific agriculture A-34 and natural resources environment zone 2. Proposed official plan seeks to increase the area for a farm-related auction center and an accessory uses from 1.8 hectares to 2.7 hectares to allow for 4 new storage buildings and to recognize a 5th that has already been constructed. It is noted that the subject property has undergone 2 previous official plan amendments. Official Plan Amendment 42 proposed an amendment to establish an area-specific policy to facilitate the construction of an auction center, which staff recommended the denial of, and the application did not directly benefit farming operations. OPA 105 proposed an amendment to the area-specific policy established through OPA 42 to build 3 new self-storage buildings and expand the limitation area of 0.41 hectares to 1.8 hectares. Since this expansion was considered accessory to the auction facility, staff recommended and received approval from Perth County Council in 2010. Staff believe the proposed increase in self-storage buildings from 3 to 8 no longer qualifies an accessory use to the auction center as it exceeds the primary uses floor area and does not meet the criteria of an agricultural related use. The expansion in area to 2.7 hectares would also remove prime agricultural land from crop production and contradict the county's official plan, which emphasizes preserving agricultural viability and discourages commercial uses in prime agricultural areas. Thus, the expansion is deemed inconsistent with the provincial policy statement and the county official plan and should be more appropriately located in a settlement area. In conclusion, the application was assessed based on its own individual merits, practice, and policies in place at the time of deeming the application complete. Staff believe the application is recognizing a commercial use that is no longer accessory to the auction center and not required to be in prime agricultural land. Planning staff are of the opinion that the proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment do not represent good planning, as the development proposal is not consistent with the PPS and does not conform with the county official plan policies as outlined in my report. As such, staff are recommending that the County Council deny official plan amendment number 228 to the County Perth official plan. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Haley. Is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in opposition? Seeing no one, is there anyone present who wishes to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent?
On the far side.
Sorry, I'm the agent.
For the agent.
Okay, I'll get to that, sorry. Does the agent wish to speak?
Yes, please.
Can you come up to the table, please? Haley, you can just stay there. Morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, and through you. Good morning, members of council, staff, members of the public. My name is Taylor Whitney. I'm an intermediate planner with Zelenka Priama Limited, the planning consultants representing Stonewall Holdings, who is the landowner of 3715 Embro Road. The application in front of you today seeks to permit the expansion of the existing farm-related auction and mini warehousing use, consisting of 4 additional single-story detached buildings to the north and a gravel parking area to the west of the existing farm-related auction business and associated storage facilities. We've had the opportunity to review the report prepared by staff, and we respectfully disagree with the recommendation for refusal. So I'm here today just to highlight some of the merits of this application with the hope of receiving positive endorsement from this council. Just to cover some of the background of the application, these lands have been subject to several approved applications under the Planning Act. In 2004, OPA 42, which was adopted and permitted the farm-related auction center involving the sale of farm machinery, implements, agricultural-related items, as well as consignment, estate, bankruptcy, and charity auctions and accessory uses on a portion of the lands. In 2010, the applicant, who was successfully operating the farm-related auction center use, saw permissions to add a mini warehousing and storage facility component, which was ultimately approved through OPA 105. In 2011, a zoning bylaw amendment was approved to permit 3 buildings for self-storage warehousing as accessory uses to the farm property, in addition to the previously permitted farm-related auction center uses. As a result of these approved applications, the permitted uses on the subject lands currently include the existing farm-related auction business and storage buildings confined to an approximately 1.8 hectare portion of the lands. It's noted that it's staff's opinion that the proposed development is not appropriate as it's located within a prime agricultural area. And the report prepared by staff states that the proposed expansion will further remove prime agricultural lands for non-farm related development. However, realistically, these lands are agricultural in name and on paper only. They're not used, nor are they viable for any kind of meaningful agricultural production due to a couple of factors. The first being the existing tree line along the westerly property line, which presents a challenge for maneuvering modern appropriate farm equipment. Also, the fact that the lands to the west are owned by others and are in with another municipality, so there's no opportunity for land consolidation. And thirdly, there is a low-lying area considered to be a floodplain by the UTRCA just to the north of where development is proposed. So these lands are fragmented from the remaining agricultural lands, as those floodplain lands can't be used for any viable, meaningful agricultural production. In consultation with the UTRCA, after that area was identified to be a floodplain, we worked closely with them to actually kind of rejig our application and relocate a portion of development within an area acceptable to the UTRCA, and they noted that they are in support of this application. The PPS policies speak to the long-term protection of agricultural lands, and it's our opinion that the proposed development presents no significant adverse impact to the protection of agricultural areas. These lands are composed of small fragmented fields, which are not appropriate for modern farm practices. And the PPS also encourages agricultural related uses. This use and business has been in operation successfully for 10+ years and has not resulted in any kind of compatibility issues in that time. This proposed expansion is really being requested to accommodate the success of a local business. And contrary to staff's report, we're not seeking an additional commercial use as the use already exists on the lands. Municipal and county council, through means of the previously approved applications, have already acknowledged that the existing uses on the lands are appropriate and desirable. And this application simply seeks to expand on those existing permissions to utilize lands that cannot fulfill the traditional planned function of an agricultural area. And we agree with municipal council's recommendation for approval of this application, and again, hope to receive a positive endorsement from this council. So thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from members of council? Deputy Warden Kellum?
Yes, thank you through the warden, and thank you for your comments. That really makes it a little more clear for me when you made the comment about prime agricultural land. I happen to drive by that property quite often, and I'm not even sure if you can get a piece of farm machinery in that. So not very often I go against Plowing County's recommendation, but I think I'm going to have to this time. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Questions, comments? If not, thank you for your presentation. Councillor
That's
Hayes?
one thing, I don't know if you noticed it on the maps, there's actually 3 drains go through that place. And I have actually been on that farm, and we actually tried to take some hay off of it once. It wasn't very successful. Anyway, and with those drains, or ditches, I shouldn't say drains, ditches, it's almost impossible to get from the one piece to the other piece, and I'll guarantee you wouldn't get there right now with all the rain we've had. Like, you just wouldn't be able to do it. It's, and I said this to the applicant the night he come to Perth South. I know they say it's prime agricultural land, but that's the last thing I would call that piece of agricultural land is prime. And the applicant agreed with me. He wasn't upset when I said it. Anyway, it is what it is. It makes no sense to not approve it. We want to keep businesses and whatnot. You know, the agricultural portion of that has changed significantly since COVID, because you now have mostly online auctions instead of, you know, in person to shoot the breeze with your neighbor. But there's still a use for that facility. There's some storage goes on there in the storage areas for some farmers and different things there still yet. So I can't believe why we wouldn't support this.
Okay, anyone else?
Comments?
Councillor Castleberg?
Can I just ask a question here? Can someone just refresh my mind about how we define the term prime agricultural land?
I don't think it ever, sorry, through the board, I don't think it ever really has been. If it's zone A1, everybody thinks it's prime agricultural land.
Can I ask the planning team perhaps to tell us how prime agricultural land is defined, either through official plan or other instruments that we use, provincial planning policy?
Through the warden, I will pull up the specific definition. Through the warden, sorry about that.
Okay.
So prime agricultural area is defined as a means of areas where prime agricultural lands are predominant. This includes areas of prime agricultural lands and associated Canada Land Inventory Class 4 through 7 lands, and additional areas where there is a local concentration of farms which exhibit characteristics of ongoing agricultural practices. Prime agricultural areas may be identified by the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture and Food using guidelines developed by the province as amended from time to time. A prime agricultural area may also be identified through an alternative agricultural land evaluation system approved by the province.
Okay,
I'm tempted to inquire then, because it seems like there's some challenge in terms of this. Is this truly prime agricultural land?
So the subject lands within the prime agricultural area are actively farmed and surrounded by agricultural activity, and they contain agricultural soils, classes 1 to 3.
okay, Councillor Deputy Warden Kellum?
Just one last, through the warden, just one question for Councillor Aitchison here. Was it supported at Perth South to approve this application unanimously?
It was unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay,
And yes, we hate to go against the planners too, but in this case, it made no sense not to support the application.
okay, anyone else? No, okay, thank you. We will move to other business in our public meeting, and I'm just going to, this time, I want to thank staff and all of staff who helped with the open house that we just had at the, for Perth County official plan. It went very well. I can't thank Moira and all of their members of their team and anyone else who behind the scenes did very well. So if there's any, are there any announcements? If not, then we will close the public meeting, be adjourned at 9:26 a.m. Moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor McKenzie. All in favor? Carried. Okay, back in regular council, and regular council reconvene at 9:26 a.m. Moved by Councillor Aitchison, second by Councillor Duncan. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we're next on our agenda is our presentation, and we have a presentation on the Cancer and Medical Care Clinic and Pharmacy Project. And with us this morning, we have Rick, Paul, and Cheryl. I think Rick and Paul are going to do the presentation, so if you gentlemen, if you'd like to come up to the table, that would be great. Welcome to Perth County Council, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Rick Orr, and with me is Paul Rolston. We are co-chairs of the Stratford General Hospital Foundation's capital campaign, In Our Hands. We're here this morning to give you a brief synopsis of care provided by the Stratford Hospital to the county and an update on the campaign. Now, with us also we have Andrew Williams, the CEO of the hospital, and Cheryl Hunt, the executive director of the foundation. They're here for any of the tough questions. You'll learn that I'm an insurance broker that's passionate about healthcare within our region. I'm not a healthcare professional, so please be patient as we stumble through some of the words and the concepts. By the way, it's nice to see some of you again. Last time I saw you, you were in hard hats and steel-toed rubber boots wandering through a construction site. So, well, just a little bit about the hospital. We are proud to be accredited with exemplary standing as part of an Ontario Health Team. The Ontario Health Team is designed to integrate care and delivery and funding. It brings together groups of providers and organizations that are clinically and fiscally accountable for delivering care in a coordinated continuum. It's a new initiative within the province, and the hospital is proud to be a part of it. We are an acute and continuing care center. We're the regional referral center for Perth and Huron counties. We offer a broad range of medical and surgical inpatient surgery services, including critical care, special care nursery, supported with internists, pediatricians, surgical specialists such as urology, ENT, ophthalmology, gynecology, plastics, general orthopeds. We do mental health, mat child, complex tissue care. We are really a big city hospital in a small town. It's amazing what they do. We are the designated stroke center for Huron Perth County. Patients are brought in by ambulance, assessed within the hospital, given clot-busting drugs if appropriate, surgically assessed, and if appropriate for surgery, sent to London. Once the emergency portion is over, then they can be referred to any programs within the hospital for stroke prevention, integrated stroke care, community stroke rehabilitation team. This is the unit that scares me the most. We are proud to be part of the Schulich Medical School. We're a network of 60 communities in southwestern Ontario. We train trainees and expose them to situations and patients that they couldn't get any other way. Really proud to be part of the co-op program. We worked with 5 different high schools this past year to bring students in so they can see what the system is about. We have relationships with Western University, Conestoga, Fanshawe, Georgian, McMaster, Trent, Lambton, Georgian College. And through that, we bring in 30 to 40 students each semester. And amazingly, we retain 49 of the 138 students that we had come through the hospital last year. Now just onto some numbers within the hospital. We'll get there. We delivered 1,049 babies last year. 149 babies were cared for in the special care nursery, which is the ICU unit for babies. We have 474 children in the pediatric unit. 34,000 people were in the emergency department. 9,200 outpatient day surgeries, 2,073 inpatient surgeries, 81,000 imaging exams, which would be x-rays, ultrasounds, CAT scans, MRIs, and 804,000 lab tests were performed, which is blood work and culture samples and that kind of thing. Through the graphs, it's the percentage of each municipality. But this is for inpatient care. So inpatients usually utilize diagnostic services such as blood work, lab work, imaging, x-rays, ultrasounds. And Perth County accounted for 19% of our inpatient care. These are people that stay overnight in the hospital. In the emergency department, usually again, people have blood work, imaging, x-rays. We've all had x-rays in the emergency department at some point, I'm sure. Perth County had 5,200 visits to the emergency department, which is about 15% of the emergency care. And then the outpatients, so these are day surgeries. To do day surgery, there's diagnostics, there's blood work and imaging all done beforehand. Perth County had 1,700 visits, which is about 19% of our outpatient services. And for cancer care, Perth County had 45 patients for 289 visits, which is again about 15% of our cancer care that we provide. Obstetrical is babies born, and pediatrics is children up to 14. Perth County had 268 babies born this past year and 109 pediatric inpatients. Interesting enough, well, all the other cares we've talked about have been in the 15 to 19% range. Your obstetrics, your babies is 24%. So Perth County is nothing if not more prolific than unhealthy, apparently. And that's my presentation. I'll turn it over to Paul.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks for outlining the high level of care that we're accustomed to at Stratford General. And
she's got it. Don't worry.
Okay. Thought we'd lost it for a minute there. Thank you. We're just going to share a brief video that outlines for all of us. Some of you may have seen this already, but it outlines for us quite clearly the reliance we have on donor support at Stratford Hospital. So if you could play the video, please. Thank you. Interestingly, that was filmed at Stratford with Stratford staff. All those people you see are part of the healthcare team at Stratford. So again, every piece of equipment is in the hospital because our donors care. Looking ahead to the future, as the slide says, our future is in your hands. It's in all of our hands to contribute and support the hospital. We rely on the generosity of our community members to keep the latest tools in the hands of our healthcare practitioners. Providing these tools also helps to attract and retain the brightest and best individuals to our teams. They learn on these new advanced systems. We want to have that in place so they want to come to Stratford. Everybody wants to be on a winning team. And as well, the foundation is here to provide the best level of healthcare that we can close to home. So looking at our campaign goal, the campaign goal we have set is $30 million. And then it breaks down as indicated on the slide here. Half of the project is dedicated to a new cancer care and medical clinic and a co-located pharmacy department. 8.5 million is dedicated to simply replacing and updating medical equipment throughout the building. The actual lifespan on medical equipment is about 10 years, 8 to 10 years, so we do need to consistently and regularly update and improve the equipment we have on site. Similarly, 4 million of the 30 million goal will be dedicated to upgrading our lab space and improving the equipment within the lab department at the hospital. And similarly, $1 million will be dedicated towards the mental health department at Stratford General, including something as simple as updating all the beds. Currently, the beds are similar to a captain's bed that you would see in a bedroom in your house. We want to upgrade to proper medical beds because our mental health patients also have complex medical needs. $1 million will be dedicated towards staff training and education, and finally $500,000 is dedicated towards redevelopment of our communication stations within the patient care units. So our campaign launched in 2022, so just over 2 years ago, and we're currently well on our way towards reaching our goal, but we need to get over the final hurdle. So in the past, this outlines again our donations received from Perth County residents over the last 5 years, from July of 19 to July of 24. You can see that almost 1,800 residents of Perth County have donated individually, totaling close to $1.6 million. We appreciate the support of our Perth County residents and thank you for that, but not everyone's able to contribute on a personal level. In the past, during our 2006 campaign, our Heart and Soul campaign, the County of Perth pledged $500,000 in support of that project. And today we ask Perth County to invest at least $500,000 in support of the Stratford General Hospital's In Our Hands capital campaign. Again, thank you very much for allowing us to present this morning. And Rick and I will do our best to handle any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, gentlemen. Any questions of the presenters? Councillor Aitchison?
Sort of a question, sort of a comment. So I realize how tough it is to get people to donate nowadays. Times are tough, let's be honest. And it's funny because my wife and I, we buy a lot of 50/50 tickets on hospital foundations. Woodstock, which quite often will get up over 50,000 a month. And the one that blows me away is Thunder Bay. 1.2 million almost on a monthly basis. And I know they used to do some 50/50 draws in Stratford, like did they just not getting support for that, or why would that stop? Because when I see a place like Thunder Bay hauling in $1.2 million, and I'm going, wow, like how can they do that? That's every month, not just sporadically.
Right.
You go a long ways to gathering up your campaign doing that.
We actually were talking about it at our last foundation board meeting. It's a new system. It's something different that has been done in the past, and it's shared not just one hospital. I think there's a group of hospitals, and we directed staff to take a look at it and report back. But it's something that just came up in the last, well, at the last board meeting. So thank you for the encouragement.
Okay, any other?
No, we've never won.
I'm sure you'd donate it back if you did.
The last winner for Thunder Bay was actually from London.
Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, thank you very much, gentlemen, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. We'll see where it goes. That council receives a presentation from Stratford General Hospital Foundation on Cancer Medical Care Clinic and Pharmacy Project for information. Moved by Councillor McDermott. Second by Councillor Duncan. Comments or questions? Councillor McDermott?
Just out of curiosity, $500,000, what percentage would that be on our taxes? Like, how much would we have to raise?
Daniel, 2.5%?
Yeah, partially, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, now we're going to move to staff reports, and under planning, the first one is the Perth County Official Plan Amendment number 228 Stonewall Holdings, and we have Haley coming up again to do that. So Haley, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Warden. I have no further comments to add to my staff presentation or my report. And my recommendation is the same.
Okay. Councilor McDermott?
Yeah, would you know in acres how much land is actually farming or farming?
Through the Warden, 17 acres approximately. The whole total lot is 29 acres.
Looks like it'd be a good place to plant trees.
Okay, any other questions, comments? We do have a motion that council receives the Perth County Official Plan Amendment 228 Stonewall Holdings Limited Report, and that council denies the official plan amendment number 228 to the County of Perth official plan submitted by Zelinka Priamo Limited on behalf of Stonewall Holdings Limited for lands described as Lot 4, Concession 3, Downey Ward, 3715 Road 113 in the Township of Perth South. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Trankowski, second by Councillor McDermott. Comments or questions? Councillor Kassenberg?
I'll just check again with planning team. In your report, there's a little bit of information about sort of non-agricultural use. And it seems to me that part of the arguments that the planning team has made is that this could stand in violation of provincial policy statement. Am I misunderstanding that, or can you clarify for me your take on that particular question?
So through the Warden, the agricultural use is supposed to be directly related to farming operations. It has to directly benefit them to be considered an agricultural use. In this instance, they're doing multiple different things on the property, and the storage unit itself doesn't actually relate to agricultural uses. So that is the argument in our report.
Okay, other questions? If not, all those in favor of the motion? 2, 4, 6, 8. Those opposed? 2, 4, 6. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Defeated. Okay, someone else wish to make another motion? Councillor Aitchison?
You make a motion, we approve the official plan amendment.
Okay, and do we have a seconder? Deputy Warden Kellum?
Before we do that, just because the resolution was combined with receiving the report, we would add the receipt.
And I would add receive the report, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor that we receive it for information and that we approve the official plan amendment number 228. Okay, any comments or questions on that? All those in favor? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Those opposed? It's carried. Okay, thank you. We will now move to corporate services, and the first item is June 2024 Forestry Inspector's Report, and Tyler's going to do that.
Perfect. Through the ward, let me just get the cameras over here too. Through the ward and before council is the June 2024 Forestry Inspector's Report prepared by Marvin Smith, the Perth County Forestry Inspector. In the month of June, Marvin completed 3 inspections in response to the submission of a notice of intent and 1 inspection response to a request from a landowner. The information is before council. If there's any questions, concerns, or inquiries, I'd be happy to pass those along to Marvin.
Any questions of the report? If not, we have a motion that council receives the June 2024 Forestry Inspector's Report for information. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Duncan. All in favor? Carried. And the next one is the Cultivating Opportunity Grant Program Viability. Tyler?
Perfect. So through the ward and before council is the Cultivating Opportunity Grant Program Viability Report. This report is in response to our meeting in July 4th of 2024. Our council requested staff to prepare a report on the viability of the program while looking at a couple of different specifics. Those being the staff time allocation as well as neighboring program comparison. Within the report, you can see that staff highlight the overall feedback for the Cultivating Opportunity Grant Program has been positive. This also showcases council's community support within the county, as previous comments from council also echo that. Staff time allocation, to put a number on it, I know at previous meetings we came back and forth and said that there was some time that was allocated to this, and I wanted to kind of hone in a little bit more. So looking at that, it'd be about 32 hours of approximate staff time. And that's spread across different divisions, inclusive of communications, finance, as well as legislative services. With respect to the comparison for neighboring programs, we looked at 8 different municipalities, of which 6 had community grants. Those grants ranged between $750 to $100,000. And that can be found on appendix number 1 there. You might have to zoom in a little bit. I do apologize. Overall, the program has functioned fairly well since the refresh. We have 2 options that are listed within the report. Option A is maintain the status quo. Staff would then continue with the application, the reporting cycle for 2025. And then option B, which would be to eliminate the program. At this time, staff are recommending option A to retain the community stream of the Cultivating Opportunity Grant Program moving into 2025. That concludes my report. Happy to take any questions or comments.
Okay, comments or questions? Councillor Katzenberg?
Hi, to the clerk. I took note in your appendix in the report of the comparative program list that was provided. And one thing that strikes me about that comparative list is that the vast majority, that at least to my eyeballing of this, relates to economic development and not to the kind of purposes that the Cultivating Opportunity Grant seems to have, at least from my impression of the criteria as I remember them. So I remain a little bit concerned, actually, because it seems that our neighbors may have programs where they issue grants, but they're for CIP type programming, they're for economic development and spurring business growth, and not for the kind of things that is included in our program. I guess I fundamentally have a concern about a grants program that sort of picks some winners amongst various community entities and projects and organizations for taking various sorts of community development actions. In some ways, I suppose you could frame that my belief is that in most of those cases, if there are people in the community who want to see those things happen, they will donate to the cause, they will contribute hours to that cause. And so I'm one who is not enamored of continuing the Cultivating Opportunity Program, and it's largely for that reason that you know we're picking winners amongst a whole bunch of small causes, and let the donor community choose those winners by giving to those organizations.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Trzankowski?
Thanks, Warden, through you. Thanks, Tyler, for the report. I wanted to maybe dovetail in with what Councillor Kasenberg said about where the decision-making process creates a winners, a select few winners and losers in the application process. My thought was to introduce a third option or a third consideration that the $10,000 be applied towards the purchase of AEDs. Chris Kaiser from Paramedic Services at our July 4th County Council meeting indicated that there was an AED replacement program being developed by Paramedic Services. And when I asked the question, how much does one AED brand new purchase typically cost? He said around $2,500. To me, it seems like the perfect opportunity to allocate the $10,000 that we normally put towards the community grant program, allocate it towards AED purchase. $10,000 would purchase one new AED, or $10,000 would purchase 4 new AEDs. That would be one new AED for each of the lower tiers. So that would be my suggestion on where to go for 2025. As Councillor Kasenberg pointed out, there's winners and losers in this option. The entire community is a benefit. Everyone wins, and staff and council don't have to pick and choose over applications to see who's successful and who's not successful. As for whether we continue the community grant program or not, I'm not in favor of continuing it any further, but in its current form, but I would like to see the money go towards AEDs for the 2025 budget and until the AED program is completed. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor McDermott?
Yeah, I would thank Councillor Tchaikovsky for his idea, but I prefer a clean break. It's a small amount, but it sends a signal to taxpayers that we understand the difficulties with affordability in this time. You know, we're over 12% last year on our budget, looking at over or about maybe 11 this year, and I'm sure they'll do a good job on the budget. And then I know it was talked about goodwill, but we're spending $75,000 on trees, and if that don't buy us any goodwill, then we're on the wrong train. And you know, in this meeting alone, we're going to burn through that 10.8 times on things that are coming up. So I would suggest that showing a bit of leadership, taking something out, and it's a small amount. And as the councillor said, most of the stuff in the other counties are all for economics. They're not for social. And, you know, around this table, if the taxes go up, most of us, we'll get through. We're okay. But there's a pile of people out there where taxes going up just make their life way more unaffordable, and especially at the percentage we're putting them up. So I would move that we cancel.
Okay, so you're making that a motion?
Yep.
Okay, so that we receive the Cultivating Opportunity Grant Viability Report, and that.
Can I take it from here?
Sure.
Because something right up if you want.
Sure.
That council directs staff not to proceed with the 2025 Cultivating Opportunity Grant Program Community Stream application process. And that council directs staff to eliminate the Cultivating Opportunity Grant Program Community Stream. And then, if I may, to add in potentially Councillor Trenkowski's comments, then additionally, and that council pre-approved $10,000 to be allocated for the Perth County Public Access Defibrillator pad for 2025. That encapsulates.
We segregate.
Or do you want a separate motion? Let's do a separate motion.
Segregate.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we'll receive the report and that we no longer do the grant. That'll be the first motion.
Sounds good.
Okay, so that's moved by Councillor McDermott. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Kassenberg? Comments or questions? Counselor Smith?
Yeah, I'm not in favor of eliminating the grant. It's 0.005% of our budget, $10,000. Yeah. I don't want to become the laughing stock of Southwestern Ontario, giving up a measly $10,000 to help support our community groups, when we've got our neighbors that are donating up to $100,000. Yes, people can donate on their own as they so wish, but again, this is a very minuscule portion of our budget. I'm not in favor of eliminating it. I am in favor of Councilor Trzaskowski's thoughts, but those are my thoughts. Just wanted to have them on record. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? If not, all those in favor of the motion?
I just ask a quick clarification. We're eliminating the grant,
Correct.
but we still may put that 10 towards AEDs.
That'll be a separate motion. Right now, we're only voting on receiving the report and eliminating the grant.
It'd take you $10,000 just to go through that with 32 staff hours.
Okay,
I'll support that.
all those in favor of that motion? That's carried. Okay, and now the other portion of the motion, who wants to make that? Councillor Trzaskowski, Councillor Aitchison seconded that we give $10,000 towards AED. You want to read it?
Sure,
Make it
yeah,
approved?
absolutely.
Official?
Yep, so through the order that council pre-approved $10,000 to be allocated for the Perth County Public Access Defibrillator PAD program in 2025.
Okay, so I have Councillor Trzaskowski moving, Councillor Aitchison seconding. Any questions or comments? Councillor Trzaskowski?
Thanks, Warden, through you. If I could add just an amendment to the motion to state that the allocation, that the 2025 allocation be repeated again in the 2026 budget year, should the need still be there for the AED program, because we don't know what the start date, end date of that program will be. So it's not clear at this time if the project will be completed in 2025 budget year, or if it will need to continue into 2026.
Okay, we'll add that. Is seconder okay with
That's
that?
a quick question for clarification. So the AED program that we are embarking on right now is replacement of existing AEDs, correct?
The wording. What we're speaking about is replacement of AEDs that are existing in the community. And Chris Kieser, Dr. Kieser would have spoken about how those AEDs came to be. And so there's a variety of different ways. Some of them were directly funded through the county. Some of them were funded through donations. And then now we're at the point where those need to be replaced. So there's different, there's different original funding streams that funded those. But what we're talking about today would certainly be helpful to replace those particular AEDs. That's not to say that we wouldn't want to expand AEDs in our community to create a safer and healthier community so that we have more opportunities to respond to these emergencies. We know that every year they are used and that we can save lives. So, but what we're talking about, we would apply that to replacement AEDs, correct?
Okay, so you will be okay with Councillor Trzaskowski's addition? Yep. Okay, so the mover and the seconder are good with that? Everybody clear as mud? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, we are moving on. We are moving to corporate services, 2024 update.
Good morning. This report provides an update on activities within corporate services for the month of June. A few things to note. Archives, effective June 1st, the Stratford Perth Archives Reading Room has expanded hours with the assistance of 2 summer students to include drop-in hours on Saturdays until the end of August. And just to clarify, permanent staff provide researchers with access by appointment on Saturdays from September to May. Speaking of students, we are fortunate enough to have 1 student working in POA, 2 in archives as mentioned, and 1 in GIS for this summer. An update with regards to the website. Legislative Services worked with the forestry inspector to identify potential new noxious weeds and invasive pest threats that were relevant to Perth County. So as a result, that section of the corporate website has been updated to reflect the information that was received. Additionally, the Agricultural Working Committee received a report related to the forestry bylaw and have parked the review of the forestry bylaw pending the submission of the official plan to the province, which is aimed to occur in October. For Provincial Offences Court, you'll recall that in January, we attended a delegation before the Ministry of the Attorney General to request additional resources for provincial offences courts, and specifically the backlog, to deal with the backlog that's created when there are no justices of the peace available to attend court. The ministry is currently hiring more justices of the peace this year. In fact, there's a call to fill 50 vacancies, 4 of which are in the West region, which cover Perth County. Accessibility. At the request of the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, a working group has been formed to discuss 2 issues. The first is a potential stopgap program in Perth County, and then the second is a review of existing PC Connect stops for accessibility. So that working group has started its work by creating a work plan and discussing strategies for moving forward. And finally, finance is busy working on the 2025 budget. So subject to any questions, that is my report.
Okay, thanks, Annette. Any questions of the report? Seeing no questions, we have a motion that council receives the Corporate Services June 2024 update report for information. Moved by Councillor Kassenberg, second by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. Okay, and our next report is a Canada Community Building Fund Agreement renewal, and we have Daniel with us this morning. Morning, Daniel, welcome. And the floor is yours.
Good morning, and council. Today I'm speaking to a few reports today with Corey off on holidays. The first report is the renewal of the Canada Community Building Fund Agreement. This agreement is for the period beginning in 2024 to 2034. The county's annual allocations during the first 5 years of this new agreement will range between 1.3 and 1.4 million. The requirement for this funding is consistent with the arrangement between the county and AMO, which includes an asset management plan in which the county has remained compliant with. This federal funding is a source for local infrastructure and is important for the renewal of critical county assets. So I'm happy to answer any questions related to this report.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Councillor McDermott?
Through the word. On page 120, they talk about they've changed words and categories and stuff like that. So now is equity a category?
Here, just through the warrant, just 1 second here. I'm going to pull this up on my screen as well.
It's about 2, 4, 6, 7 lines down under comments.
Yeah, through the warrant, yes, that is correct. That is a new category. They've kind of switched how they are basing the funding and kind of what I guess they're using to dictate what each municipality would get.
Okay, so would they, if they have these different categories, like you have to score so many points in each category?
Through the warrant, based off of my understanding, like majority of it relates to the asset management plan, and the categories related, like in scoring the asset management plan through AMO.
So they look at all the categories?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
correct.
Fine, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? If not, we have a motion that council receives the Canada Community Building Fund Agreement Renewal Report, and that the warden and the clerk be authorized to execute the municipal funding agreement for the Canada Community Building Fund for the period of 2024 to 2034. Moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Jankowski. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and our next report is the cost of living adjustment for 2025. Daniel?
Yes, so the second report is the cost of living adjustment for 2025. The amount is calculated based off of the consumer price index average for a 12-month period, which ended June 2024. Last year, the cost of living adjustment was equal to 5.63%. This year, the increase is equal to 3.13%, as outlined in the table on your reports. The inflation rate will likely continue to decrease over the next 12 months, with Bank of Canada likely looking to cut interest rates to assist in maintaining inflation. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions of the report? If not, we have a motion that council receives a 2025 cost of living adjustment COLA report and the council approves a rate of 3.13 based on the average CPI for the preceding 12-month period as an increase to the county non-union salary grid and a remuneration for members of council and committees effective January 1, 2025. Moved by Councillor Kassenberg, second by Councillor Duncan. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, Corey picked quite a week to be off.
Yeah.
Your next report is Q2 operating and capital budget. Daniel?
Yeah, so as outlined in the second quarter variance report, the county has spent approximately 50% of the budget as of June 30th, 2024. As of now, there are no concerns identified. A couple things to note. The county has seen an increase in fine revenue within court services to date of approximately $300,000 compared to 2023. Winter maintenance is trending to be under budget for 2024 by approximately 2 to 7%, leading to an early estimated surplus of approximately $91,000 to $320,000. The county will continue to monitor drainage work in 2024, and with the increased budget that was allocated in 2024 related to drainage, this will help the overall public works budget maintain a surplus in order to start replenishing the winter maintenance reserve. If there are any questions regarding this report, I would be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Questions of the report? Councillor Kassenberg?
Sort of vaguely interested, and perhaps Ms. Diamond understands the answer, how it is that fine revenues are up as steeply as they are.
If I may, through the warden, we've actually had quite a large fine that I think was collected in February this year. Yeah, and I believe it was something to the effect of it was either 75,000 or 125,000, but we were quite fortunate to receive and collect upon that amount.
Interesting. Thank you.
Good. Okay, any other questions?
That explains that, because I know in my road, Stratford Police, what the police officer say one day is like fishing out of a barrel, picking up speeders.
Through the warden, to clarify, this would have been a regulatory fine. This would not have been a Highway Traffic Act fine.
When I seen that was down that much, I thought, I can't believe the policeman fishing there, but the large fine explains that.
But perhaps if we implemented the Highway Traffic Act fines of $125,000, we'd see great.
Okay, we do have a motion that council receives a 2024 Q2 operating and budget mid-year financials report for information. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Deputy Warden Kellum. All in favor? Carried. And the last one is the appointment for external auditors. Daniel?
Thank you. So last report is to appoint the external auditors Graham Scott Ends for a 5-year term beginning with the 2023 year end and concluding with the 2028 year end. The Finance Division issued a request for proposal which closed July 12, 2024. In total, there were 6 plan takers with 3 submissions. As outlined in the report, the scoring criteria consisted of related work experience, personnel, method of approach, and cost. Based off of this criteria, the evaluation committee recommends that Graham Scott Ends LLP be appointed as the new auditors for Perth County for a 5-year term. After appointment, finance staff will begin the audit process for the 2023 year end as soon as possible. If there are any questions related to this, I would be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the report? If not, we have a motion that council receives the appointment of external auditors report and the council approves the appointment of external auditors of Graham Scott Ends LLP. Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor McDermott. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move to paramedic services. And the first one is our Stryker Power Pro stretcher purchase, and we have Tristan with us this morning. And Mike? Morning, gentlemen. Welcome.
Good morning, Warden Agates and members of council. Through the warden, the first report that we have in front of you today is in regards to our Stryker power load system. So I'll just give a little bit of background to this program for those of you who may not have been here when this program began. So in 2020, paramedic services started a modernization of our fleet, which included a power load unit, which went into the back of the ambulance, and power load stretchers to aid in the movement of patients and transport. Overall, the adoption of the Stryker Power Pro stretcher and power load system aligns with our commitment to enhancing both patient outcomes and safety for our frontline healthcare providers. This investment modernizes our fleet and then demonstrates our dedication to leveraging cutting-edge technology and to improve emergency medical services in our community. The report in front of you is the council approves the purchase of these 3 Stryker Power Pro stretchers through Medavie Health Services procurement pricing. The purchase cost of these Power Pro stretchers was allotted within the 2024 capital budget. However, due to significant cost increases in the market segment, like we see everywhere else, there's now a cost overrun of $8,070.24 plus applicable HST. And we also received notification just this week that the cost of these stretchers as of October 1st will be going up again another 3%. Okay, so it is timely with this report for purchasing. The paramedic services recommend the purchase of these 3 Stryker Power Pro stretchers in order to remain consistent with our commitment to providing a safe and consistent work environment for our paramedics and the best possible care experiences for our patients. This project, as I stated, was started in 2020 with your approval of these purchases of these 3 stretchers. It will complete our project, and it will mean that our complete fleet of ambulances will be equipped with both power load and power cot stretchers.
Through the warden, with respect to the overrun and the overage of from the budget, that would be confirmed with finance. I can just say it because through the capital reserve funds, and I don't know if you would like to add to that.
Yeah, the overage would just be funded through the capital reserve of the medical equipment reserve.
Okay. Any questions of the report? Nope. Okay, then we have a motion that council receives the Stryker Power Pro stretcher Medavie pricing, and that council approves the purchase of 3 Stryker Power Pro stretchers using the Medavie Health Services preferred pricing. Moved by Councillor Kassenberg, second by Councillor Aitchison. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, and the next item is paramedic services vehicle replacement. Christian?
Yes. Through the warning, this report in front of you is one that you have seen in the last couple years that we've presented to you again, and we're doing it again this year. And this report essentially relates to the replacement of one of our ambulances. So our fleet currently consists of 12 frontline type 3 ambulances. And our replacement cycle on these ambulances is 7 years. And typically that equates to about 275,000 kilometers on a vehicle. We are at Paramedic Services slated to replace one ambulance during 2025 from the capital reserve funds. Due to the ongoing supply chain issues and limited ambulance vendors, we continue to experience delays from the time that we purchased the vehicle to the time that we receive that vehicle. Such delay does have an impact on the frequency of maintenance for our vehicles in our operating fleet. So what our plan is to place an order for a 2025 vehicle this year to help mitigate any further delays or cost increases with these ambulances. As you may remember, there is a limited number of certified ambulance builders within our country. And there was essentially two, Crestline and Demers. Crestline is who we predominantly use. Our fleet is all Crestline right now. And Crestline and Demers merged, or Crestline purchased Demers in 2018. So as you know, our county's purchasing policy allows for sole sourcing when there is an absence of competition for technical reasons, and the goods and services can only be supplied by a particular supplier, and a sole source is being recommended in this circumstance. We have noted that the prices of these ambulances continuing to increase, as you can imagine, with every other vehicle. And we are still at about 12 months, as I stated, from the time that we're purchasing to when we are receiving those vehicles. And staff recommended the county act to sole source the supply of one ambulance to Crestline Coach during 2024 in order to take possession of the ambulance during 2025, which is its original slated replacement time. The purchase of this vehicle would include the Striker power load system, as all of our previous orders since 2020 have. Total project cost for this vehicle is $295,098.52 plus applicable HST. The purchase of the vehicle would be funded through capital reserves. And that completes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the report? Councillor Castleberg?
Does it strike anyone else as really odd that HST is charged on ambulances? Does that seem right?
It's not really, they charge other things that you go, what do you mean there's HST on that?
Yeah, but
You get the right government, we get a
portion of that back, no?
we'll get a, well, Daniel can answer, we'll get a bunch of that back, but.
Doesn't seem right.
Could I ask the question of staff, like how much HST from this one would come back to us, or roughly?
Yeah, so roughly, so the non-rebatable portion of the 13% is equal to 1.76. So the difference of 13 less than 1.76 is what we would be getting back when we do the HST rebate.
Okay. All right, then we do have a motion that council receives a report titled Paramedic Services Vehicle Replacement 2025, and that council directs staff to issue a purchase order in 2024 for one ambulance that is scheduled for replacement in 2025. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Aitchison. All those in favor? Carried. Thanks, gentlemen. Okay, now we're going to move to Public Works. And the first one is our tender results update. And we have Bill, John, and Anna with us this morning. Welcome. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Warden Eggets. Through you, Warden. Good morning, Council. The first
report in front of you is an information report from Public Works in regards to the tender results and preliminary construction schedule for the replacement of structure 01BR-1, which is located on Perth Line 36, or Quinlan Road, on the north end of the city of Stratford. Perth County shares ownership of this structure with the city. The structure is located on the municipal boundary. And through the boundary road agreements, capital costs are shared equally between the city and the county. The city is administrating this capital project, and they recently closed and awarded the construction tender for the replacement. The structure, as noted in the report, is located on Perth Line 36, and it's about 700 meters west of Mornington Street. So that's kind of the north end of the city. The existing structure is a 5.5 meter span concrete culvert. It's on the Court Municipal Drain. The replacement will be a precast structure, a similar span. It has it's a bit higher than the existing one, so the actual outlet is a little larger. So the city issued the opportunity on their bidding system. It yielded 6 tender submissions. The tender results are tabled within the report. The low bid submission was received from Lavis Contracting in the amount of $786,199.47. That figure is including HST. A project budget breakdown is provided in the report. The county has allocated a capital budget allotment of $500,000 to fund our share of this project. The low bid submission received from Lavis is demonstrated to be within budget, and the updated project costs are estimated to be approximately $416,000. That would be the county's portion. The results of this tender, along with the recommendation to award to the low bid Lavis, was presented to Stratford Council on July 22nd, and the city awarded the tender to Lavis and directed staff to execute the contract agreements. So with that, construction is expected to begin in September. Within the contract, the contractor, I believe, has 20 working days allotted to the replacement. So during that period, we'll be looking at a full road closure with the detour for up to 4 weeks, hopefully a little less. And that summarizes my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the report? No? Okay, then we have a motion that council receives a tender result update, structure 01-BR-1 Quinlan Road report for information. Moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Aitchison. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, the next report is tender results for the supply delivery mix and stockpile winter sand.
Thank you. Again, through you, Warden, to council, this report is in regards to tender results for the supply, delivery, mixing, and stockpiling of winter sand to support winter maintenance operations during the upcoming 2024-2025 winter season and the following 25-26 winter season. So staff issued a RFP specifying the supply and delivery and mixing stockpiling of OPSS compliant winter sand to the county's Stratford, Mitchell, and Milberton yards, as well as Perth South Rannoch yard. The tender covered a 2-year period, and the documents were posted on the county's online bidding system. We had 2 bid submissions. During staff's review of the bids, further clarification of one incomplete submission was sought. That ultimately led to the vendor seeking to withdraw their submission. So the remaining bid received from Boston and McCann was found to be complete and was accompanied by all required tender documentation. Results are tabled within the report along with the recommendation to award tender 2024-031-07 to Boston and McCann Incorporated. The vendor, Boston and McCann, is experienced in the scope of work defined under the contract, and they have demonstrated the capacity to provide these services to the county in the upcoming year, the following year, as they have done in the previous years. Staff have reviewed the bid submissions and the unit rates with Public Works staff from Perth East, Perth South, and West Perth, as each of those municipalities purchase sand indirectly through this contract. They purchase it through the county. So we
we pass those rates on to them. Again, they are supported of the recommendation of the report and the unit rates proposed within it. And the unit rates represent an approximate increase of 5% over the previous year's rates, and the tender specifies an additional 2% increase in those rates for the second year of the contract. That summarizes the report, and be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the report? If not, we have a motion that council receives the tender results 2024-031-07 supply, deliver, mix, and stockpile winter sand report, and that council award tender 2024-031-07 to Bosons and McCann Incorporated, and that council approved bylaw number 3993-2024, in a bylaw to authorize the entering into and the execution of an agreement between the corporation of the county of Perth and Bosons and McCann Incorporated. Moved by Councillor Smith, second by Councillor Duncan. All in favor? Carried. Okay, and the next report is 2025 plow truck replacement.
Thank you again, through you, Warden. This report seeks pre-budget approval authorization to initiate the procurement process for the department's 2025 fleet replacement. And forecasted in the 25 capital budget is the replacement of fleet asset V1406, which is a tri-axle combination plow truck. As council's aware, for these larger, more complex custom fleet equipment builds and procurements, it's not uncommon for manufacturers to require well over a year to produce these vehicles. This pre-budget request is being made in order to afford staff the ability to issue a tender for the replacement of this unit in advance of passing of the 2025 corporate budget, and to measure market conditions through the tendering process. Through conversations with vendors in the industry, it's understood that the availability of trucks and factory build slots to build these custom units has not significantly improved since we last procured a truck in 2023, and actually previous to that in 2021 as well. Those two last procurements were done through a sole source, single procurement method, as we were dealing with the industry and the supply chain issues as a result of COVID. So that process worked really well for those two purchases. We received both those assets within 12 to 14 months, which was really good under those conditions. Staff have also noted, though, recently some municipalities have had successful tenders close for plow trucks. So with that, we're recommending to go to market by tendering for the replacement of this unit as one complete unit. Just historically, we would, in past practices, we split out the cab and chassis from the actual body build out with the plow and all that equipment. I'm still predicting some challenges in going that way, but bundling it together and combining it as one unit, I think opens it up to some other markets. So hopeful that process may work. And in doing so, staff will again be able to gauge market conditions and further analyze which procurement method is best suited for these plow trucks. So if pre-budget approval is granted by council, staff would issue and close a tender for the complete unit and report back to council with those results. Currently, there's no impact to the approved budget in doing so. The results would be, like I said, brought back to council for consideration. So that concludes my report, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the report? Councillor Smith?
Just a quick one there. So is this part of our procurement policy that you need to come to council to get pre-budget approval? It just seems like you're gonna come back with the numbers and it's gonna be the same. You give us the information, just the numbers. Is that part of our procurement policy, that we need pre-draft before they come with the numbers? It must be.
I think so.
Just seems like
Well, it has been to this point, put it that way.
it just seems like a lot of time wasted, like one report and you come back with another report. Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Okay, any other questions? We have a motion that council receives a 2025 plow truck replacement pre-budget approval report and that council authorize pre-budget approval to initiate the procurement of a tri-axle cab and chassis complete with the winter maintenance equipment to replace asset V14-06. Mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor Smith. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, the next is the Active Transportation Infrastructure Program update. We have Hannah with us this morning. Hannah, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. This report is presented to you just as an update on the works that have been completed as a part of this action item of the greenhouse gas reduction plan, and also dovetails with certain goals in our strategy plan. So since coming onto the county, I have been working with our local municipalities on identifying areas of opportunity for active transportation networks. So we submitted a grant application in the early spring through Hydro One's Cultivating Opportunities grant. And we were unsuccessful in that grant, and that grant would have helped subsidize the purchase and installation of over 40 chargers across Perth County and the local municipalities at municipal infrastructure. So we are going to continue on with that project and trying to secure funding and looking at ways that the county can support local municipalities with their goals in that regard. We were also able to identify other areas of progress towards this action item through the Economic Development Department and works that have been completed with their cycle route maps and their advertising of the cycling networks and programs that we have in the county. And then we will also be including these recommendations in the update to the greenhouse gas reduction plan, which is going to come forward in November as the environmental sustainability plan. So I'm happy to answer any questions about this update.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kassenberg.
Thank you, Warden Negetz. Just a quick question about bike racks. Certainly, we seem to be coming into a time where more and more people are acquiring e-bikes. And I'm wondering if, as we think about the installation of bike racks across the county, that we're contemplating providing an energy source to them so that people could charge their bikes on those racks, should they so wish to.
That's a great consideration. Thank you.
We put fire extinguishers with those too. Seems to be a lot of them catching fire in apartment buildings.
Councillor Duncan?
Unfortunately, in discussion with a few different firefighters, that seems to be a very common problem now with lithium-ion batteries that have been imported from overseas, that they're overheating and starting fires. So it's, I guess, great on this hand to have e-bike transportation, but more costly on this hand for the fire protection reasons.
Okay, any other comments or questions? We have a motion that council receives the Active Transportation Infrastructure Program Update Report as information. Moved by Councillor Aitchison, second by, pick one, Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. Okay, and then we're going to move to the renovation and connecting link project. John, the floor is yours.
Can I just ask John and Bill a question about the roads more so than this before we get going? So I see we're getting our signs up, our LED signs for speed limit. That's great. Thank you very much. I had a couple comments made to me. In some of the villages, and I'm going to use Avonton for an example, when you're coming from the south into Avonton, that sign is basically right down at the intersection virtually. And people are going, why isn't it further out? And I said, well, you're supposed to be slowing down by this point in time anyway. But you don't, actually, I've been through that way a lot, just they don't actually hit their brakes until they go, oh, that's how fast I'm going. Like they do slow down once they see it. I'm just wondering why we have them so deep into the villages.
Through the warden, we've tried to establish a bit of a criteria of where we place these signs, and obviously in certain areas there are some restrictions and things where we may have to move them from place to place. As you said, we do want to be measuring that speed within that speed zone. They do pick up the vehicles well ahead of that and start flashing their speed. So they do see that as they are entering the speed zone. And again, we're looking at this as it's a two-part thing, really, to try and control speeds or reduce the speeds in these reduced speed zones, and at the same time get accurate data on what speeds are actually like in those zones. So if we can maintain consistency in where we place these signs, we just have better data moving forward. So hopefully we're achieving the same thing, safety aspect, and getting the speed data that we're looking for. But again, there are some challenges within certain villages. Certainly Avonton, we have grade issues. So getting people woed up has always been an issue like that.
Subsequent to that, one further question. Another comment is, why aren't the speed limit signs moved a little further out of the village? And I'm going to use the one that I've talked to you about before, is St. Paul's. Those vehicles are flying through there. And all of a sudden it goes, oh, it's a 60. But they're still at 80. And I'm not sure exactly where you're going to put that speed limit sign there, but I think in all honesty, some of these areas we should look at expanding out a little bit where we reduce the speed.
Through the warden, once again, those speed zones are established by bylaw. We typically post the, say, 60 begins right at the edge of the built-up area or the town limit. Again, we look for consistency in that application, and in some cases, what we've seen in some of these villages in areas is built-up areas is that houses have expanded, and then we've had to revise the bylaw in the distance and move the signs out. So we have looked at certain issues or certain villages in the past and reported back, and in some cases recommended moving the speed zone out. You always want to minimize the speed zone if you can, and that helps ensure compliance within that speed zone. You can appreciate some of these speed zones can get a little lengthy. Millbank on Perth Road 121 comes to mind, where a lengthy reduced speed zone, typically you do not see as good a compliance within them. So again, with these speed radar signs, we're hoping for better compliance and things like that. So it's kind of a two-pronged thing. You're trying to maintain consistency in whatever we're doing across the county.
Okay. All right. Okay. Then we'll move to the renovation and connecting link. John?
Great. Thank you, Warden Eggets, and good morning, Council. This report provides an update on the project status and contingency allowance for the 5-lane rental and connecting link addition. Why don't we start with the positive news, or good news first. Significant progress has been made up to the interior renovations of the 5 Huron building, with the majority of work items on schedule. Electrical, mechanical, and IT conduit within the interior and exterior walls are complete, and approximately 90% of the walls have been drywalled. The lower level drywall has been taped and primer paint applied to the walls and exposed ceiling areas. The floor of the link addition has been poured, windows installed, and all the interior walls have been studded. Electrical and mechanical work in the link is nearing completion, and the roof is watertight, thank God, after all these recent rainstorms. And we are awaiting final roofing material for that. On the exterior, all storm and sanitary replacements have been completed and connected to the point of the parking lot. The parking lot reconstruction began on Monday, with all of the asphalt being removed. Preparations for sidewalk and curb are currently ongoing, with paving operations expected before the end of August. Festival Hydro has completed their portion of the hydro upgrade with infrastructure in place up to the hydro pole between 24 St. Andrew and the jail. The contractor has been delayed in their portion of the hydro upgrade, which is a critical path item for other portions of the project, which will rely on that hydro service being brought online. Why that hydro work can't proceed is a result of the discovery of an oil tank during excavations at the back of 5 Huron. The oil tank was approximately 1 meter below grade and presumed to be part of the original heating system of the building. There was still oil left within the tank, and upon further investigation, evidence of contaminated soils surrounded the tank. An environmental contractor and geotechnical engineer were brought in to remediate. To date, the tank and contaminated soils have been removed, tested, and properly disposed at a licensed site. Several samples have been taken and tested to delineate the area and extent of the contamination. We are still waiting on a couple of results to determine if there's any further remediation. As of yesterday, I'm fairly confident that we understand that extent and have removed the contaminated material, but until we get those test results to confirm that, we're not out of the woods yet. With what we know to date and projecting the remaining work, the cost to remove the tank, disposals, testing, and remediate the area will likely be in excess of $70,000. Staff are recommending to increase the contingency allowance by $100,000 instead of the $75K as indicated in the report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Questions of the report? Councillor Smith?
Thanks, John. Through the warden, your last comment there under the financial implications mentions finance would potentially look to Infrastructure Ontario for additional funds. Have we started that process, or are we going to wait? Or in my mind, I think we should ask now.
Through the warden, that comes through our finance department. I'm not sure if Daniel's still around. If you're able to comment, Daniel, or if we have to wait for Corey. Corey's been working on this.
Yeah, through the warden, we have, I guess, the initial loan ask with Infrastructure Ontario, but that is something that we can look into when Corey returns about possibly starting the process to ask for additional funds if necessary.
Okay. Councillor Aitchison?
Did we not sign the original money from Infrastructure Ontario a 3 years ago when interest rates were far lower? Thinking they were going to escalate a fair bit, and they did. And by doing that, that saved us a pile of money. Is that not true?
That might have been with the paramedic services upgrade.
Well, maybe that was it.
Yeah, that was it right now. I don't believe we've signed a final agreement. Once the construction's complete, that's when we would lock in an interest rate with Infrastructure Ontario.
I remember signing something because we wanted to get it signed before the interest rates went up.
Through the warden, it could also have been for the courthouse elevator.
Which?
Courthouse elevator.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it could have been for that too.
Okay, other questions, comments? The allowance increase, you wish it to be 75,000 or 100?
100.
100, okay, that's what I'll read. So council receives a renovation and connecting link project / contingency update report, and that council approves the 5 Huron renovation and connecting link project contingency allowance increase of 100,000. Moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Kassenberg. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, thanks, John, Bill, and Hannah.
Thank you, council.
Going to move on. Next is the warden's activity report, where I was for the month of July. Is there any questions? Where I was, what I did? How I did it? Nope. Okay, so we have a motion that council receives the warden's activity report, July 2024 report for information. Moved by Deputy Warden Kellum, second by Councillor McDermott. All in favor? Carried. Okay, then we are moving to bylaws, and that first is assigning authority for the Bosons and McCann, the sand and the gravel. And so that bylaw 3993-2024 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this first day of August 2024. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Duncan. All in favor? Carried. The next bylaw is the Canada Community Building Fund Agreement. And that says that bylaw 3994-2024 be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed this first day of August 2024. Moved by Councillor Smith, second by Councillor Aitchison. All in favor? Carried. Our third bylaw is the appointment of our external auditors. And it says that bylaw 3995-2024 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this first day of August 2024. Moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Aitchison. All in favor? Carried. And we do have a fourth bylaw, and that was for the Stonewall Holdings Limited. Right. Oh, it's right on there. I need to read it. So that bylaw 3997-2024 be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed this first day of August 2024. Moved by Councillor Duncan, second by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. Okay, do we have any notice of motions? Any other business? Councillor McKenzie?
Just would like to extend an invitation to county council, if you have some free time, or if you don't have free time, to come and enjoy Mitchell's 150th homecoming. We had a few events already, and both have exceeded the expectations that we had in mind, so it looks like it's going to be a good week coming up.
Okay.
Walter, does that go all the way till Monday?
Goes till Sunday. We need Monday to clean up.
What? They all work. Okay, it was a great night. I'll just add to Walter's last night. We were at opening ceremonies and it was really good, great attendance. There was a lot of families, a lot of things for your people to do. So it was really neat running into some people I haven't seen for a while and talk to them, and yeah, it's off to a great start. So. Okay, anything else? I do have one thing that's just a little different. I want to, at this time, congratulate the ladies sevens rugby team that played in the Olympics this past week. They brought home the silver medal, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because the young lady that's on the team, Chloe Daniels, she has family in Perth County, namely Perth East. Her grandparents, Donna and Bernal Kipper, and cousins, and actually she is a family member of my family too. So congratulations to those ladies who won the silver, and it was really neat to watch on TV as they get the silver medal at the Olympics. So. Anyone else have anything else? We do not have a closed session this morning, so we'll move now to our confirmatory bylaw, and it's bylaw 3996-2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the Corporation of the County of Perth at its regular meeting held August 1, 2024, is read a first, second, and third time and finally passed August 1, 2024. Moved by Councillor McDermott, second by Councillor Duncan. All in favor? Carried. And the last motion of the morning is that council be adjourned at 10:48 a.m. Moved by Councillor Katzenberg, second by Councillor Kwiatkowski. All those in favor? Thanks, everyone. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day.